Well, it is the day before Christmas Eve, and Joe Biden has decided to bless all of us with a Christmas present of sorts. He's continuing his record of being the single best president we've ever had, it would seem. Before we get into this, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I post videos daily, and we break down the news, talk about things going on in the world, social issues, political issues, all kinds of things. So if you haven't already, please like, share the video, and subscribe for more content. But let's go ahead and jump into this. We have this from The Guardian. So our gift from Joe Biden for the holidays, of course, is going to be that Joe Biden commutes the sentences of 37 out of 40 federal death row inmates. The clemency action applies to all federal death row inmates except 3 convicted of terrorism and hate-motivated mass murder. So I don't know how hate being the motivator for a mass murder changes the severity of it. If I decide to go out and kill 10 random people, does it make it any worse that I go and target 10 people of a specific culture? Like, I don't know how that adds to the severity of it. Both have the same outcome. So I don't think just because it's hate motivated, it should be elevated to a higher level, me personally. But so Joe Biden has commuted the sentences of 37 out of 40 federal death row inmates, changing their punishment to life in prison without parole. The decision following mounting pressure from campaigners who warned that the president-elect Donald Trump backs the death penalty and restarted federal executions during his first term after a 17-year hiatus. Make no mistake, I condemn these murderers, grieve for their victims of their despicable acts, and ache for all the families who have suffered unimaginably and irreparable loss, Biden said in a statement released Monday. But guided by my conscience and my experience as a public defender, chairman, and the Senate Judiciary Committee vice president, and now president, I am more convinced than ever that we must stop the use of the death penalty at the federal level. In good conscience, I cannot stand back and let the new administration resume executions that I halted. Well, I completely disagree. I think this is an idiotic move yet again by Joe Biden. He is continuing his record of just making things worse. Little by little, he just keeps piling on to the stack. I am in full support of the death penalty for individuals that have been convicted in a court of law when there is no shadow of a doubt that they committed the murder or whatever crime that they committed that garnered them the death sentence. If we have any shadow of a doubt that they committed the crime, then sure, they can spend life in prison until proven otherwise. But if we know 100% down to the last detail that this individual committed the crime and the punishment and society has determined that the punishment should be the death penalty, I fully support us putting people to death. There are some people in this world that outright deserve it, and I would like to see them off this planet. This is coming from the same party, of course, that has no issue with abortion all the way up until 9 months. Now, many of them will say that they don't think it's okay to have it up to 9 months, but from the conversations that I have had with pro-choicers, I wouldn't call them pro-choicers, I would call them pro-abortionist. Many of the conversations, I would say almost half the conversations I've personally had, now this is completely anecdotal, so take it as you will. Half the conversations I have, people outright do not care up to what month it is. They just want to be able to murder their baby as long as it's still inside them. So this is coming from the same party that is completely fine with the termination of a baby because you don't want it or can't afford it or whatever the reason may be. They like to bring up rape, but that makes up less than maybe 1% of abortions. So let's not kid ourselves here. People are not getting abortions because they're raped. They're getting abortions because they don't want to handle the responsibility and just want to continue having relations with other adults. Utterly despicable, degenerate behavior. Our society's losing our responsibility. We're a lost society. I don't know what to say at this point. But the same people that are completely fine with terminating the life of an unborn child see issue with murdering someone who has committed a heinous crime against children or other individuals. It is the highest number of death sentences commuted by any president in the modern era. Among those spared is Len Davis, a former New Orleans police officer who masterminded a drug protection ring involving several other officers and arranged the murder of a woman, Kim Groves, who filed a brutality complaint against him. Davis also helped send 3 men to prison for more than 28 years before they were found to have been wrongfully convicted of murder and freed in 2022. See, people like that take advantage of the system, you would think Democrats would be all for just putting this man to death. But no, apparently they're fine leaving him in a nice, cozy, comfy prison. And we do have a statement from one of the family members of the victims saying that they rather the individual wake up in a prison cell for the rest of his life. But, I mean, some of the prisons aren't that bad, and you can make prison comfortable. They have TVs. A lot of prisons have TVs. They have games that you can work out. There's other things that you can make your life fulfilling in prison. And guess what? You don't have to worry about in prison. Bills or literally anything. They give you everything you need. So I don't really see prison as like the ultimate punishment for these crimes. I think they would fear a lot more the death penalty than they would sitting in a nice, cozy prison getting 3 meals a day. But that's me personally, because I know if it were up to me, I'd much rather choose prison than the death penalty. Davis also helped, I read that already. During a brief interview Monday, Groves' son, Corey, hailed Biden's commutation of Davis's death, saying he always wanted the former officer to live as long as possible in prison. I would like Len to wake up on his 95th birthday and still be looking at the concrete and barbed wire, said Groves, who received a $1.5 million settlement from the New Orleans city government in 2018, along with other family members over his mother's murder. I think that's worse than any death sentence, so I don't have any problem with what the president did, which I do understand, like, the thought process behind that. But me personally, I don't see it as like the worst punishment ever. Like, someone does like heinous things, they do terrible things to a child, or they murder multiple people, and then you're like, oh, guess what? You get to go sit in this government facility for the rest of your life, but we're going to give you 3 meals a day, take care of your health coverage, just take care of you completely, and you no longer have to worry about bills or anything. I don't think that's like the ultimate punishment, personally. Would it suck to wake up every day and look at the same 4 walls? Sure, but there's people that live in the same house for their entire lives. I mean, would it be much of a difference? But that's me personally. I do understand the sentiment, and I understand the thought process behind it, but me personally would be much more fearful of the death sentence. And some people do deserve it because our tax dollars go to keeping these people alive. We feed them 3 meals a day. So I much rather we just cut them off. But that's me personally. There is also a commutation for Norris Holder, who was sentenced to death for a two-man bank robbery during which a security guard died. Prosecutors said Holder may not have fired the fatal shot. Another beneficiary is Daryl Lawrence, sentenced to death in the killing of Columbus, Ohio police officer Brian Hurst. Hurst's former police partner Donnie Oliveira said in a statement, "Putting to death the person who killed my police partner and best friend would have brought me no peace. The president has done what is right here and what is consistent with the faith he and I share." While I do understand that some people believe that religiously that we should not put people to death, my belief is still the opposite. I am somewhat religious. I don't really know what I would call myself, but no, I disagree. I think some people do deserve death, and we have to do it. We as a society need to put them to death. Something needs to be done to them. The clemency action applies to all federal death row inmates except 3 convicted of terrorism or hate-motivated mass murder. Dazar Kahar Tsarnaev, I probably butchered that, convicted of carrying out the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing attack. Dylan Roof, who shot dead 9 black church members in Charleston, South Carolina. 2015, Robert Bowers, who stormed a synagogue in the heart of Pittsburgh Jewish community and killed 11 worshipers in 2018. So at least he didn't commute the sentences of these individuals, but I don't know what makes these individuals any more special than some of these other people that have also committed multiple murders. We're going to jump now over to the Post Millennial. They also have a pretty good article on this. So Biden commuted the sentence of 37 out of 40 convicted murderers on death row and said in a White House press conference on Monday morning that I am commuting the sentences of 37 of the 40 individuals on federal death row to life sentences without the possibility of parole. So they're all 37 are now with life in prison, no opportunity of parole, but they will not be getting the death penalty. Among those with commuted sentences include Thomas Stephen Sanders. He was sentenced to death row in 2014 after being convicted of the kidnap and murder of a 12-year-old girl who he shot 4 times in addition to cutting her throat, per the New York Post. Among other child killers were Ricardo Sanchez Jr. and Daniel Troya. The 2 co-defendants were sentenced to the death for killing a family, which included 2 children, which that is one of the main ones that people have been talking about on social media. These 2 individuals murdered a family of 4, killing the husband and wife and their 2 sons, who were both 5 and 3 years old. Incredibly sad situation, brutal story. Death penalty, if you ask me, is warranted here. In addition to this, Biden commuted the death sentence of Darrell Lawrence, who was sentenced to the murder of a special duty police officer in 2006 Ohio. Lawrence killed the officer during a bank robbery. Anthony Battle, another on death row, was sentenced to death for the murder of a prison guard while he was serving time in 1994 for the rape and murder of his wife. He killed a prison guard with a hammer. So some people are just evil human beings, and some of them need to be taken off the earth. God isn't going to do it. God is not going to take these people off the earth. They're going to continue to hurt people in whatever way they can. And us as sane, rational human beings with morals need to put a stop to them. Now, a lot of people don't like that or don't agree with that. If we're able to subdue them and, make it to where they're not harmless, then we don't kill them, right? But that's just not always the case. I mean, this guy was already in prison and he murdered a prison guard with a hammer. These sick individuals have, screwed up minds. They will find ways of hurting people, and it's better if we just take them off the planet for what they've done. Me personally, that's what I believe personally. We have more here. Let's see. Just go through a few more of these. Battle's wife was a U.S. Marine at the time of her death in 1987 at a Camp Lewis in North Carolina. Additionally, the grant of clemency included George Avila Torres, who stabbed to death 2 little girls aged 8 and 9. Laura Hobbs, as well as Crystal Tobias, were riding their bikes to school when Avila Torres sexually assaulted and stabbed them to death in Chicago in 2005. The convict strangled naval officer Amanda Snell in Arlington, Virginia 4 years later when she was in her barracks. See, he commuted the sentence of this individual. This individual will get to live out his days in a nice, comfy prison with 3 meals a day. I don't agree with that. This is the gift that Joe Biden gave us right before Christmas. It's 2 days until Christmas. I'm recording this on the 23rd. It is 2 days before Christmas, and this is the gift he gives us. His presidency is about to be over, and what does he do? He commutes the sentence of 37 individuals that almost certainly deserve to be put to death. But what can you do? What can you do except talk about it and express our disgust and just utter, disagreement, I'll say. Laura McKell, another recipient of Biden's clemency, granted 2 days before Christmas, was sentenced to death row for the murder of 5 immigrants after kidnapping them for ransom. Despite getting the ransom payment, he killed them anyway. Another child murderer on the list of convicts Biden granted clemency to is Kaboni Savage. Savage was convicted of killing or ordering the killing of 12 individuals in Philadelphia when he was a drug dealer. The murders included 4 children. So I don't really know what else to say here, but it's just terrible all around. I don't think he should have commuted the sentences of these individuals. But I guess we can only see what else he does with the last, little over a month of his presidency. But I'll leave it there. If you haven't already, please subscribe, share the video, share to everyone, let them know what Joe Biden left us for Christmas. Thank you for watching.